that we do a lot of reports and a lot of talking rather than implementing, right? So sometimes people meet and they do a lot of talking, yes, and they don't take the decisions sometimes. And that's why I don't know if you guys are aware of most boards, they want to limit the number of persons on the boards. You guys are aware of that, right? Because if you have too many people on a board, it's going to be hard to come up and make a decision, right? So you want to limit the number of persons on your board. You want to limit, you want to at least have an odd number of persons on your board. Your guys are aware of that? An odd number. Anybody knows why you want an odd number of persons on your board?
As though somebody has to be the tie breaker.
Right.
Yes,
So because you're voting, yes, you want to at least, because if you have a board with the same number of persons, what can happen is you have a stalemate, so to speak. So you want to have an odd number of persons on your board. And it also benefits your team if you have odd number of persons on your team in terms of when you're making that decision, if it's a consensus that you're talking about. Give me 1 second, guys. Dr. Sorry about that, guys. That was Dr. Mirage. I had called her this morning and I'm on, so not everybody are as early riser like myself. So anyways, let's get going. Where are we at? Back. Yeah.
So you were talking about group dynamics.
Yeah, I'm just making sure we're still recording. Yeah, right. So we're talking about solving.
Sorry, I'm drinking water here just in case you're wondering.
No, man.
I'm hot. So.
Yeah. So yeah, you definitely need to be able to identify your problems, examine your alternatives, and there's always an alternative to everything, eh? One of the alternatives is to do nothing. Any of you guys did decision science by any chance? Probably not, right? Yeah, decision science.
We did decision science and decision analysis in the MBA.
All right. Okay, great. So one of the things that we always say in decision science is there's always alternatives. Once you've seen the problem and you've come up with your alternatives, you will have alternatives. One is to do nothing, or the other alternative is just keep on doing what you're doing, basically. So no changes will occur. But you need to decide on your alternatives. So put up your alternatives, and from your alternatives, you choose, make a decision as to what steps you're going to take. You need to be able to identify the group norms. What are the norms of a group? Like, I think now, for our class now as a group, I think our norm is that we're not as mechanized, and I use the word mechanized loosely. I think we're more, how would you say, no, we socialize a lot more than you would probably socialize with possibly other lecturers and tutors. And that's just my style, because for me, when I'm marking papers, I don't even look at names. I just mark and then put in the grade and see who persons gets. It doesn't matter to me if a person is sociable or not, it doesn't affect their mark where I'm concerned. So that's, I think, one of our group norms is that we can speak with each other, we can interact, and that's a group norm for this class, right? Other classes are a little different, like my decision science class where we are doing a lot of calculations and all that. It's mainly me doing, well, I guess it's still mainly me doing the talking, but you know, there's not a lot of room for interaction as they are with this group, right? So just talk about norms basically. So in a factory settings, there might be cultural norms. There might be norms specific to a certain department. There might be norms specific to a certain company, like the norms in, say, Walmart might be different from the norms in, say, a Cadbury's might be different from the norms in, say, a Hershey's, just as an example, right? So group norms, it's important that you know the group norms and be able to maneuver them and work within the group norms, or even outside sometimes. Sometimes it means you have to work outside of the norms to get things done, right? The use of leadership and authority, you need to know who are the leaders in the organization. If you're having an issue and you need to bring in a leader, you need to know who that person is. You need to be able to canvass the leader, possibly share issues that you're having with the leader. Not only that, if you need resources, say you need to take your group on a retreat, right? And it wasn't budgeted for, but you need to do it in order to change the organization or to develop the organization in another direction. You might need to do something real quick. And who has the authority to sign off on that funding? You need to know who that person is. You need to have a relationship with that person. All right. So Shin, this is Shin's 10 principle to guide action, right? As say an OD practitioner, these are 10 principles. Always try to be helpful. So you're always trying to help the group or the individuals, right? And you need to access your ignorance. If there's something that you don't know, right? Say you don't know it. Well, not too many people know everything. Let me just put it that way, right? So you need to acknowledge that there are some things that you might not know. And if you're going into a new organization, the chances are there's a lot of things you might not know within that organization. So you need to ask relevant questions, right? And don't be afraid to ask questions for something that you don't know. You know, there's some people who they have this attitude of not wanting to speak up, right? And I'm trying to get that out of you guys and have you guys speak up, because some people have the attitude to say, have you guys ever heard this? It's better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and confirm it. You guys have ever heard that saying? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
You guys have heard it, right? Yeah. It's just one of those, Go ahead.
Also on the flip side,
yes.
When I was in a department, what senior management did is that when you come up with an idea, you're left to execute it. So a lot of persons
you're just
are voicing
because they don't know how to execute
the response. So not just that, on top of their regular work schedule, they have this additional responsibility. So what they do is that they just never voice.
All right, so that's a good thing. Maybe it is that your supervisor or your manager didn't do this MBA. So when you move up in the ranks, please don't be like your boss or manager.
No, sir.
Allow your subordinates, and I don't like to use the word subordinate, but allow the persons who report to you to be able to come up with ideas. And if they have to implement, you give them the resources. Part of the resources could be that you give them time off, you give them time off. So it's not a bad thing to be doing this course, because you don't want to be what your boss is, right? You want to effect change, and to effect change, there's certain things that you need to do. So it's a good thing. All right, so good point, very good point. And maybe you should be saying this to your boss casually. Sometimes you don't have to call a meeting. You can be on the way to the lunchroom or on the way to the parking lot and just say it casually, and you never can tell. He's home, he or she is driving home, and she says,
And the boss that you have.
you know what Khaled just said to me makes sense. You know what I mean? Yeah. Sorry, Rule, you had a point?
No, I was saying depends on the boss that you have. Now, I love to boast that I have the best boss in the world because she is open to change and she's always trying to do something new. And some people don't like her for it, but I love that about her. But she is, and she involves everyone.
Oh, good.
Everyone, as in her managers and also the supervisors and also the lower level staff and everybody she involved in her planning meetings and so on. She's that type of boss. You probably know her.
What's her name?
Garcia McLennan.
McLennan? No, I don't
Yeah.
know.
She's the director of student financing.
Oh no, I don't know. Never interacted with her. But that's great though. I mean, that is great.
Wonderful. She most of the things that I've learned over the years is from her, and she sets a very good example. And it's not a boss that is stern and looks down. So as you say, some people have to say, I am your boss kind of behavior.
Yeah.
She's not like that. And even if she brings off we're working now kind of attitude, give her 5 minutes and she asks you, she said, period, Abula. That type of person, she's just, and she's kind. And I say to people all the time that I've worked for many years and I've never had a boss or a supervisor that is so understanding and willing to share with everybody, not to hoard it to themselves to make them look good, but to share it among them staff and let them, people see that, yes, my staff is involved in this and my staff did that. And
right, but they are. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
She's that type of person.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
McLennan.
She empowers.
I'll remember that. I'll remember McLennan. All right, great.
Yes.
I might just come and see you when this COVID is over one of these days.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. All right. Everything you do is an intervention. Remember that. So if you're the organization development person, right, in your organization, or if you're the change agent, remember that everything you do is an intervention, right? Because that's basically your job. So everything you do is an intervention, and people are looking on to see just how well you're walking the talk, so to speak, right? You should make sure that the client owns the problem and the solution. So don't take it upon yourself to say you came up with the solution. Yes, you might be the expert, but you want the organization or the client to own, not just the client, but well, I guess if you call the group a client, you want that client or the group to own the problem, and by extension, you come up with a solution. You want them to own the solution also. All right. You kind of want to go with the flow sometimes. Sometimes you have to swim upstream from the flow, basically, right? You know what I mean? Sometimes you want to get into an organization. Yes, you want to make changes, but sometimes you have to do the timing. As it says, the next one, timing is crucial. Timing when you do things. You don't want to implement change when somebody has just in a department, when a whole department has just been let's say decimated. When I say decimated, they've all been laid off. Maybe you were the cause of that, but you do it before. If you're coming to an organization, you have to be sensitive. You have to be sensitive to different things. You don't want to push things down somebody's throat who, in a time, let's say when there's COVID, you don't want to say, well, you have to be here at 8 o'clock and that is it. We don't care if you're taking a cab and all the cabs are full. Nobody's wearing a mask, doesn't matter. You have to be in there. So timing is kind of crucial in terms of when and yes, how you approach groups. You want to be constructively opportunistic with confrontive interventions. So your intervention, if you have to confront somebody, if you have to confront somebody to their face or confront a group, you want to do it constructively, you know. You want to be showing the positives of what's going to come out of this change that you're trying to implement, right? Everything is information, so you never can tell. Just make sure you gather all your information. Keep them in a place where they can always be drawn upon. And just know that errors will always occur and are prime source of learning. Everybody knows that. It's when you make errors that you learn. And when I lecture decision science, and most courses that I lecture, which has calculations, I encourage students to not just wait for me to do the calculations and you see it's done, but try it, right? Because wherever you went wrong, that's where you will learn. And if you try it in a tutorial or when you're studying, that's fine. At least when you go in the exam, you won't make that same mistake again, all right? And as you say, when in doubt, share the problem. No man is an island. If you don't understand something, you can share it with somebody else. So those are some, those are the 10 principles to guide action as defined by Shin. All right? In terms of individual interventions, and this is in your text, what's called the Johari window, right? For dealing with individuals, you have open window, hidden window, blind window, and unknown window. For the open window, this is where issues are known to self or to a person, and also known to others. So everybody knows what the issues are, basically, right? So you know, it's a different treatment for when everybody knows the issue. And then there's a hidden window, right? Where issues are, you know the issues, right? But nobody else knows the issues, right? So again, there's an approach to dealing with that, and the intervention is different where that's concerned. And then there's a blind window, right? And these are issues known to you and issues that you don't know about, but everybody else knows about it, right? I mean, and that can be a very uncomfortable situation. Sometimes you walk into an office, everybody knows something, and you don't know it. The question will be asked, well, why is it that everybody knows it and you don't? Is it because you don't communicate with other persons, that kind of thing? And then there's the unknown window where nobody knows what issues are. And a lot of times in group intervention, that can be from an organizational standpoint, way up top, where the senior managers are doing something, you don't know about it, and neither does your group know about it. So again, a certain intervention is necessary for that. So group interventions, right, is aimed at process, right, structural, and content. So for process, we want to sensitize the group to internal processes and generate interest in analyzing, right? In terms of content, you want to help the group to determine what it is to work on. And you can look at your agenda setting, your review, your testing procedures, your interpersonal issues, and any other task-related topics. For structural now, you want to help the group to examine methods used to deal with external issues, including your questions, questionnaires, comments about inputs, resources, and customers, and methods for determining your goals. How do you determine your goals? Are there any KPIs instituted in the key performance indicators? Are there any of those instituted in the organizations or in the organization or even in the department, right? So you want methods for determining your goals. You want to develop strategies, how you develop strategies, and you want to assign responsibilities. Remember, we said we don't want just a team that is ambiguous. Nobody knows what needs to be done. So you need to set up a structure where everybody knows what is to be done. So you eliminate any ambiguity and you set your formal rules, basically. So for third-party intervention now, that focuses on conflicts that arise between two or more people within the same organizations. We don't have that at UTech, right? Ha ha ha. Right? So that's what third-party intervention is all about. When you have conflicts of 2 or more people within the same organization. Okay, and I guess anywhere you have individuals working or operating in an area or in an organization, you're always going to have conflicts, right? And this basically is just, if I can get it better for you, what's called the episodic model of conflict, the episodic model of conflict. And this is where you have something might be festering for a while between persons. It's festering right here. Are you guys seeing the mouse? Something is festering, and it's probably not resolved, but it's not as bad. And then an issue comes up, and that is what triggers the behavior, right? Something comes up, and you say, a long time I don't want to tell you this, bam, 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 kind of thing, right? And it makes it go higher. And then it calms down again, and the same thing happens. So it's called a cyclical model of interpersonal conflict. All right, because you're going to trigger a behavior at the top here where you start quarreling and then you calm down, but there are consequences to that. The 2 persons are not going to be liking each other and malicing each other, right? So you're calm right down to here. And then another issue comes up again, right? And the same thing happens. So that's why it's called an episodic model of conflict. So let's get on to team building. So team building refers to a broad range of planned activities that help groups improve the way they accomplish tasks, help members enhance their personal and problem-solving skills, and also increases team performance, right? So that's what team building is, a broad range of planned activities. So the activities are planned, right? And help groups improve the way they accomplish tasks, help members enhance their personal, interpersonal, and problem-solving skills, all right? A team is a group of interdependent people. So they depend on each other. What would you say now? This thing about they benefit off of each other, so to speak, right? Who share a common purpose and have common work methods and hold each other accountable. And the nature of that interdependence varies, creating the following types of teams. So you have groups reporting to the same supervisor. There's no the different types of teams you're talking about. You have groups reporting to the same supervisor, manager, or executive. You have groups involving people with common organizational goals. And you have temporary groups formed to do a specific one-time task. Have you guys ever been on any of those groups where you form it? Or it's like a committee too, where you're formed that group to deal with a one-time task. Anybody been on any grouping like that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you divulge?
Basically, you're hearing me, right?
Yes, I'm hearing you. I'm hearing you.
Yeah, basically, the team was developed and the roles and function was set out for us to accomplish. And you had persons with different skill set on that team. So each individual was given a particular role, and then we had a general supervisor who supervised the team and a timeline in which to accomplish the particular task.
Right, exactly. So it must be time bound, exactly. Because you can't say it must be outcome bound, because you could be working forever and you never get to the outcome that you want. So what the most important thing is, you need to get it to be time bound. Okay. And there could be groups consisting of people whose work roles are interdependent, right? All right, so that is groups. So groups can be a department, as you see, because one department who reports to a manager or a supervisor, so that's an entire department, but it still can be looked at as a group. All right, so several factors can affect the outcome of any specific team building activities, right? The length of time allocated to the activity, right? So you don't want to just put a short time space involved on a team, but you want to make it a time that makes sense, right? So the length of time is very important. The team's willingness to look at its process, right? The team must be willing to look at any processes that that is involved in coming to a solution, right? Process is always important because you might have to change the process sometimes, modify the process sometimes to get to the outcome that you're looking for. And what's important also is the length of time the team has been working together and the permanency of the team. Anybody wants to expound on that one? The length of time, how does that affect the performance of the team in terms of the team building activities?
So that can be good or bad, because if persons are working together, you will develop a level of camaraderie.
And complacency. And complacency, yes. But
yeah,
go ahead.
So, yeah, so that each person will know each other's weaknesses, and you will have that comfort with that person. As comparing with somebody new coming on a new team, you have to know the weakness and strength of the individual. And that may be a factor. It can be a good or a bad factor to the team also. If somebody's familiar, if on a team you are familiar with the individual you're working with, it may make the workload less harder.
All right. So fact of the matter is, so a person like you, right, who knows these things, you should probably be the one who should be the team leader. And once you form that team, you set down the ground rules and say, hey, we know some person, I don't really call the names unless you guys are comfortable with it. If you're a group who have been working a long time together and you're working on a specific problem, you can say, look, everybody here, we've been working together for, I don't know, 5 years. Everybody knows that John is a person who comes in late. John, you can't come late again because you're affecting the outcome of the team, the output of the team. So yes, you have a point there, but it's good that's why you need a leader. Most times, the leader group to set the ground rules basically, so you can achieve your objectives. So the length of time persons have been working for does have an effect on the team building activities and the team permanency. We're talking about team building now. The team permanency. If you've been working a long time, if you've just formed a team and everybody knows it's a temporary team, there probably sometimes there's no reward for the outcome, and we're not saying it has to be monetary. Remember, I said there's monetary and there's non-monetary reward. But if the team has been working, if the team knows that they're going to be there for a while, then it can have both effects, as what you mentioned. Because if they know that they're a permanent fixture in the organization, if they know they're in a union, if they know there's nothing that can be done if they don't achieve their objective, then they might have a laid back type of attitude. Yeah. So that also affects your productivity of your team, the length of time the team has been working together, and the team's permanency. Let's leave that alone. No, we don't have to touch that. All right. I want us now to look at a case study of conflict at Ross and Sherwin. I don't know where I find that one now, but I had this on the notes from some time ago. Let's see. Anybody find this? Conflict management at Ross and Sherwin. I should have put the page on this. Let me see.
It's in the book?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's cultural change for you.
I was muted. Did you hear what I said?
No, I didn't. And I still can't hear.
Sir,
I was saying it's University of J, core values.
I hear core values. Maybe it's poor values. I'm not sure.
I think I heard University of Core Values. I don't know. That's what you said, Terry?
We can't hear you, Terry. Nobody can hear you properly. You're going in and out.
Sir, another artifacts could be like the history of the sugar company, because we always have students calling us about it because they're doing projects. Yeah.
Exactly. So you guys know the history and you know the culture.
We have those in house. Yeah.
Right. It forms the culture. Right. And that's why we're saying, remember, we're saying maybe we should try and change the culture a little bit, but maybe you don't want to, you know, or you don't have to. Right. All right. So where we at? Yeah. So cultures affect whether firms can implement new strategies and whether they can operate at high levels of excellence. Because you might have a culture where people resist everything. So, you know, you might have an issue with putting in new strategies and such alike, right? So there. And then culture change, intervention start with diagnosing the organization existing culture. So you need to know the existing culture before you try and change anything. That's very important. So this can include assessing the cultural risk of making organizational changes needed to implement strategies. And then we said changing corporate culture can be extremely difficult and requires clear strategic vision, right? You're trying to change the entire culture of the organization. You know? So top management commitment, symbolic leadership, supporting organizational change, selection and socialization of newcomers, and termination of deviance, okay? Right? And legal and ethical issues. All right, that's a mouthful, but I think it says a lot, right?
What does deviance mean, sir?
Deviance, you don't want change. Even if we tell you say lunch is 1 hour, you must always try and take an hour and 15 minutes. You're just a deviant, you know. Terminate you.
Like I'm a deviant.
Right? We may just have to terminate. All right.
Okay.
What did I do? I'm on to my last slide. Yeah, we'll make it to 11. So a well-conceived and managed organization culture closely linked to an effective business strategy can mean the difference between success and failure in today's demanding environment. People must change if they have certain cultures, right? That's what this is saying. I want to look at a culture change at IBM, and that is now on page 532, and that should take us home. 532. So let's see if I can get to 532. Wow, a lot of movement that I'm only at 250.
Culture change.
Yeah, in the back. It's not one of those sequential chapters. 532.
Found it.
Oh, you found it? Okay, you want to? If you found it, let me just make you share then. You save us some time. It's IBM, the IBM one. Okay, I think you can do it now. Let's see. Yep, the IBM. You found it?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. Let's hear this change the IBM now.
Hearing?
Huh?
Are you hearing?
It's not reading.
It is reading.
What do I need to do? I'm not hearing.
Hold on.
Do I need to do something?
Oh,
Best managed company. By the late 1980s and the early
hearing it
1990s,
now?
however,
Yes. Oh, your mic again. I forget your mic is bad. We can't hear you.
for stability.
All right.
For the individual
I
had morphed into an
unshared a while ago. Are you hearing it now?
mentality where
Let me start.
lifetime employment was reinforced by cultural norms.
Hearing it now?
Yes, yes.
Excellence
Okay, let me
gave
start
way
from
to
the top
corporate
again, man.
arrogance and a failure to listen to customers or the marketplace because IBM knew what was right. Culture change at IBM. IBM began in 1914 as a maker of cheese slicers, scales, and tabulating machines. Thomas Watson, its founder who became famous for the Think watchword, created the company on 3 values called basic beliefs: respect for the individual, the best customer service, and the pursuit of excellence. Based on these values, IBM grew into one of the great industrial giants of the world, routinely hailed as a best managed. By the late 1980s and the early 1990s, however, IBM's enormous success had an unintended consequence. The firm became complacent, its basic beliefs provided a rationale for stability. Respect for the individual had morphed into an entitlement mentality where lifetime employment was reinforced by cultural norms. The pursuit of excellence gave way to corporate arrogance and a failure to listen to customers or the marketplace because IBM knew what was right. Finally, its devotion to large, centralized computer systems rather than PC-based distributed architectures led to its downfall. IBM's stock price dropped 75% between August 1987 and September 1993. To turn things around, IBM appointed Lou Gerstner CEO in 1991. When asked how he would lead IBM, this former GE executive retorted, "The last thing IBM needs right now is a vision." Over the next few years, Gerstner cut IBM's workforce in half, abolished lifetime employment, and refocused business strategy from hardware to software and services. The spectacular success that followed is regarded as one of the great turnarounds in business history. So what would you do as the CEO who followed Gerstner? Sam Palmisano, a lifetime IBM employee, was appointed CEO in 2002. He strongly felt that IBM's continued success depended on relaying its foundation. We couldn't be casual about tinkering with the DNA of a company like IBM. We had to come up with a way to get the employees to create the value system, to determine the company's principles. Watson's basic beliefs, however distorted they might have become over the years, had to be the starting point. To clarify and shift IBM's culture, Palmisano orchestrated a process that began with the corporation's top 300 executives. Together, they generated the basic categories for the new values, including respect, customer, excellence, and innovation. These categories were tested in focus groups and broad surveys with more than 1,000 employees across levels, locations, and functions. Based on this input, 3 proposed values: commitment to the customer, excellence through innovation, and integrity that earns trust were submitted to Values Jam, a 72-hour process where all employees at IBM were invited to comment on the proposed values via IBM's intranet. Values Jam organized employee discussion around 4 forums. A company values forum asked general questions about the importance of values. A first draft discussion asked for reactions to the 3 proposed values. A third forum asked about IMB's value in society, and a fourth asked people to describe IBM when it was at its best. Including Palmisano, 50,000 employees made over 10,000 comments about the company's culture and identity. The following were some early on comments. The only value in IBM today.
Can't hear anything.
Company values. Yeah, right. I feel we talk a lot. We even tell Sam that his strategy is wrong. However, after initial feedback about 20 534 Part 6 Strategic Change Interventions Decisions and Manage the Company. One project was dubbed the $100 million Bet on Trust. It was in response to a story that Paul Mazzano heard about an IBM employee prototyping software for a client in Tokyo who immediately needed a software engineer based in Austin to help configure a server. The employee couldn't get the help right away because a charge code was first needed, so there would be a way to account for the software engineer's time. In effect, employees were unable to respond quickly to client needs because financial control processes required several levels of management approval. Although the money would usually be approved, it was often too late to be responsive. To address these issues, a $100 million bet on trust gave each manager in a pilot group up to $5,000 annually to spend, no questions asked, to respond to extraordinary situations that would help generate business, to develop client relationships, or to respond to an IBM's emergency need. Subsequent evaluation showed that the money was being spent wisely. There were several examples of teams winning deals and delighting clients with a small amount of immediately available cash. Consequently, the program was extended to all 22,000 first-line managers. Paul Mazzano was convinced that allowing line managers to take some reasonable risk and trusting them with those decisions would pay off. More importantly, the program symbolized living the IBM values. Another important change to reflect the values better involved setting prices. Values Jam surfaced many stories about the difficulty of pricing a customer solution that involved a variety of products and services from multiple IBM groups. Since each brand and business unit had its own P&L, and a cross-IBM bid was usually pulled apart by each unit and run through the financial accounting system as separate bids for individual products and services. This made it extremely difficult to come up with an all-inclusive price, which ran counter to IBM's value of client success and the strategy of being able to offer a total solution: hardware, software, services, and financing. In one classic case, IBM CFO was putting together a deal for his partnership account that involved hardware, software, and services. He was told by the finance function that he couldn't price it as an integrated solution. In other words, IBM CFO was told he couldn't offer the deal he was proposing. In response, IBM developed an integrated bid system to better reflect its values. All of the people who set prices for clients were brought together and told, "You work for IBM. When there's a cross-IBM bid with multiple products, you price it on the IBM income statement, not on the income statements of each product." This led to a series of intense meetings with senior executives about allocating integrated bids to business unit P&Ls. IBM made it work because it was the right thing to do in aligning the organization to its values. The IBM culture change was led by senior executives and involved the whole organization in discussing and debating the firm's values and identity. There was remarkable agreement on what the values should be. The debate, as it turned out, wasn't over the values themselves but on whether IBM would be willing and able to live with them. To make this happen, specific organization changes were made that symbolized the values in use. Self-designing organizations. A growing number of researchers and practitioners have called for self-designing organizations that have the built-in capacity to transform themselves continually to achieve high performance in today's competitive and changing environments. Point 3. Mormon and Cummings have developed a self-design change strategy that involves an ongoing series of designing and implementing activities carried out by managers and employees.
Sorry, guys. Yes. So that was good. I hope you guys picked up on a number of things that we talked about. You did, right? in terms of the case. Oops, you guys are hearing me, right? Yeah. You picked up on a lot of things that
Yes,
we
sir.
talked about. So I just want to show you the relevance of how I picked stuff out and how it, you can see the relevance in the cases that. And IBM was a good example of transformational change, where you saw we talked about norms, the artifacts, that kind of thing. He sent out a survey, picked on the person's brain as how things used to be, and then changed all of that around. So excellent case study, I believe, in transformational change.
The culture.
Exactly. The culture change, where he petty cash was millions. He just put in petty cash and said, listen, run it, but make sure you account for it to make sure we can keep the business going. This thing about just pricing for software or just pricing for hardware and then pricing for service. He said, no, let's give the customer one solution. Boom. And he just implemented it, at the chagrin of his finance person, who said, no, you have to do it 1-1-1. And he just said, no, we're going to price in one product, that kind of thing. So, and it tells you about leadership. You see the leadership where he says, this is where we're going. And so he just took the ball, took the bull by the horn and ran with it. So that was a very good case. All right, let me put something up now on the classroom, right? Because you're gonna go for lunch pretty much now, but come back at 1 o'clock. And I'll have the thing up for you unless you wanted it. No, but it's still 3 hours no matter what. It's not gonna go over 3 hours. So let me try and put something up. So stay on, and let me put something up. What can I put up now? I got lots of stuff anyways. Let's see, lots of tests. Exam draft, and then you send it to your friend. Can't make that happen. Test, no, that's all right. Let me put up. All right, review 2. All right, not a problem. Let's go. Oh, I can actually.
If I not say, can set it and we can get it when you're ready for it.
Because I didn't put in the title before. It needs that to go in there first, and then it will assign it. I'm assuming.
Send the test. Send the test.
No, man, I'm gonna put it up, but I'm gonna put the time, so it should be fine. Schedule.
Okay.
June. Today's what?
Are you sure you don't want to put something else and make us see?
No, but I'm here. What I'm saying is not to worry because I'm here. So if you're not seeing it, you'll be fine.
Today is the 27th, sir.
Yeah, schedule for future. I put June 27th and tell me I must shed. Oh, the time. 1 p.m.
They normally give us a few extra minutes so that we all any issues comes up.
No, then I can always give you at the end.
Okay, sir.
Oh, it's Sunday. Not. I not one. Let me see a time. Okay, let's see if it's there. All right. Assignment created. Do you see an assignment? Oh yes, it came up as test one. Posted that. Let me see something. Assigned 9. Just 9 students, even though it's 8. No due date. That's all right. I'm gonna do it over back. Clear that your assignment. Tells everybody. It's not showing me any time. All right. No, not to worry, not to worry, not to worry. Posted that and turn in. Yes. All right, great. Assignment.
So what is it? It's one essay, right, sir? One essay we have to do.
Two, but it's going to take you to 3 hours. I can tell you that much.
Okay, okay.
All right, great. So I'm going to create.
The recording, sir?
Oh, I should stop recording. Huh? Let me see.
Yes.
You're still recording.
Yeah, that's all right. Let me just cut it out now. I'm on a different page.